Record to this computer. Welcome everybody to day 2 of Composition 300, Writing Arguments. Today we have an ambitious agenda, mainly to understand the power of argument and rhetoric from a beginning standpoint, to build off some of the work that we've probably already done, and also to set guidelines and establish some expectations for our discussions in Zoom and in Canvas. We just did a free writing exercise where I encouraged you to write without censoring yourself, and there's benefits to that as a writer and as a thinker, since it's usually us that gets in the way of our ability to write in different ways. Okay, what we're going to do is discuss some discussion expectations, and I was kind of hoping to build these out one at a time, and we need to actually discuss some of this. I was very interested to learn that your First Amendment rights do not completely translate into a classroom environment, i.e., once you sign up to a class and come into this class or on our discussion forum, there's certain kinds of speech that you actually cannot engage in per the agreement that you signed as a student when you paid your tuition. I didn't really realize it was like legal like that, but apparently it is. And what kind of speech is not protected in a classroom, but that we would imagine that we would have freedom to? Probably see it on the board. It's hate speech. So I'm hoping the first agreement that I'm hoping that we can get together is that we will not tolerate hate speech. Well, if I'm a critical thinker, what question should I have at this point?
What kind of speech is hate speech?
Yeah, what is that? I'm interested in this question. It seems like some speech might not seem like hate speech, or when I said it, I'm not saying it in a hateful way, but you heard it as hate speech. So is it hate speech if I don't think it is, but you do think it is? So we have a problem of definition here, because what I might think is hate speech might not be what you think is hate speech. And this is the way the university basically defines it. Everyone has a right to participate in their education. And so any speech that impedes on another person's ability to freely contribute is considered speech. It might not be hateful, but we will avoid any speech. I have never quite seen, when we, in the English department, when we all came back, we have like a pre-semester meeting, and they had an entire hour-long presentation on how fall 2020 may present certain teaching difficulties in terms of classroom dynamics that other semesters might not have had. Because America is divided on a lot of issues and people feel very strongly about those issues, there might be some things that come up that might make people or students feel that they are not welcome in a classroom based on what other students say. And that is basically not cool. What kinds of issues, and I kind of want to preempt some of those issues. What kind of issues might come up that are sensitive, let's say?
Racism?
Right.
Yeah, I heard 2 good ones. What was religion is one of them. What else?
Equal rights.
Yes. What else? You heard the joke, there's 3 things you never talk about in a bar. Politics, religion, and the other guy's girlfriend, or the other girl's boyfriend. I don't know, I said that before to another class, and they're like, that's dumb. Those are the funnest things to talk about in a bar. Why don't you want to talk about those things in a bar? Right, okay. I want to dive deeper into politics. What political issues are going around right now that might make people that are, that we should be aware of? not aware of the issues, but aware that that talking about them in certain ways might impede another person's ability to get the most out of the course they can.
Voting.
Yes, that did not come up in any of my other classes. Post office. What else? Good one.
Racial injustice.
Sorry.
Yes, no, that's fine. That's all right, we'll figure it out. Racial injustice, systemic racism. There's arguments about how real that is. Connected to this, law enforcement, right? And policy, law. Black Lives Matter movement.
Reproductive rights.
Man, yeah, you guys are on it. No one else got that one in any of my other classes, and I forgot about that one as well.
Gun rights.
Oh boy. Concealed carry connected to that, right? Other ones?
Healthcare.
Yes. I don't think healthcare is one of the ones that people disagree about, and it doesn't really get too ugly, or at least we could put taxation in here as well. Any other ones?
Social.
Military.
Yes, military and then social security.
Someone said in the chat, COVID denial.
Yay, that was the big one. The three that they wanted us to be aware of is that COVID, I was just browsing memes on COVID that my friend sent me that basically the theory of the meme was getting people to wear masks is the first step towards global domination, particularly by multinational corporations. They're going to want you to get a vaccine. And so there's that. COVID denial or COVID policy. Now, getting this list of things on the board, there's a good question we could ask about all this, or maybe in my previous class, someone said, does this mean we can't talk about these things? Because it looks like that would suck for me. No. I just want us to be careful and considerate when you do voice your opinion, and kind of understand that people might not think the same as you for good reason. I have one story to illustrate this. This is from last semester. It was in one of my classes that someone expressed their views of immigration, but the way they said it was basically disparaging immigrants for the harm that they do to our country and why it is so important to stop them from coming. That's a nice way to put what this student said. And he didn't, it just kind of came out, and he was starting to explore his research on immigration. And in that class, there were two immigrant students that were dreamers, and you could see in the room that they were definitely shut down. The class changed after that. And as a teacher, I'm like, shit, what can you do? I was just like, well, that is one view on immigration, but there's other views that show that immigrants are an economic boon to the economy because they do these jobs that most, so on and so forth. So do we get basically that we're just trying to not impede on anyone's access to education by the way that makes sense, right? Okay. I think no hate speech is a pretty low bar to set for ourselves, so we're gonna raise it up a little bit. Can we agree to try to encourage each other to think more carefully, clearly, and compassionately, actually, like to be kind to one another? Hopefully so. Do we know about the principle of charity? And now we're going to start shifting into how this connects to arguments. Can anybody define what the principle of charity is? Have we seen this before? It's a term from logic and critical thinking. Awesome, then we're learning stuff. Principle of charity is basically giving your, the person you're arguing with, so this is in kind of an adversarial argument format, but giving your peers, we'll say, the benefit of the doubt and helping them strengthen their argument. If we were in like an argument where I was trying to prove you wrong, I could say strengthen the argument before you take it down. So in other words, if I'm using the principle of charity, I'm going to try to understand where the other is coming from and help them boost their points. One of my favorite stories from a large lecture hall is a teacher got up at the front and said, you may try to show me that you're smart by criticizing the ideas of your peers. And what's really going to show me you're smart is that you show how smart your peers are. i.e., basically, instead of saying, don't say you're wrong, you can ask, under what circumstances is this right? So if someone says something about immigration that you don't agree with, it's not, well, that's stupid. It's, I wonder how we got to that point and what, do we see what I'm getting at here? We're basically working to boost people's opinions in a sense that allows you to understand more of where they're coming from so you can address them accordingly. Any questions on that? This is the opposite of a straw man, which is a logical fallacy, where you attack someone's argument or attacking a weaker version of someone's argument. Another term from logic and critical thinking. Okay, I want us to have arguments and I want us to engage with these issues that are really important to us. I just want us to do that in a way that builds empathy and consideration of others. This is going to connect to, I'm really hoping, this might be too much to ask, but I'm hoping that our discussion forums are more than just checking the boxes. And what I mean by that is, like, if you just go into the discussion forum because it's something you have to do, and then you also respond to your peers because it's something you have to do, it's not as good. They kind of suck that way. If you can find a way to make your own posts interesting or take some pride in your posts in that kind of a sense, and more importantly, when you respond to your peers, you're legitimately working to help them develop their best ideas, i.e. you're trying to be supportive and critical at the same time. You're not just being like, great job. You're actually saying, you know, I actually think this is a really compelling thing that you said here, but I don't really know what you mean by hate speech. And I think there's an example that might, or whatever it is that they're writing about. That again connects to what we talked about last time in this Drive book, The Science of Motivation. Ideally, you're trying to get better mastery at teamwork, critical feedback, And then where we share a common goal of becoming better writers. That's what the discussion forums are for, as to contrast with the reading notes. Your reading notes can be messy and they can look bad. They just need to show me that you're thinking and trying to identify the big ideas of the reading, and that you are identifying key quotes and explaining why those quotes are key, and asking questions that are going to promote further understanding and discussion, all that kind of stuff. Your discussion forums should hopefully try to flex your skills of being the best possible writer you can be. On that note, it says that discussion forum is due before class, but if you can't get to it on Friday, I'm flexible with you, not just this Friday, but any week, that if you have like a really big week and you would rather do the discussion forum at another time because of the way your schedule is working, just let me know that. Say, hey, Friday doesn't really work for me this week. Can I give it to you on Tuesday instead? That's after my giant exam on Monday. I'm going to say sure. I'd like for you, and likewise with the reading notes, it's going to give us more to work with if you do it before class. But I'm just hoping, I guess that's the only other, I hope that we could use the discussion forums a little bit more than just, I have to do this, and into like, hey, I'm actually getting better at writing and giving feedback and listening to feedback.
So our post is due Friday, but
Yes.
the self-reflection part, that's due Monday?
Correct.
Okay.
Your original post is 15 points. It's due Friday. Your 2 replies to peers is 6 points, 3 points apiece, is due Friday by 5, I think I said, but I'm flexible on that as well. That piece of feedback should have a point of support and criticism. So not criticism, but a suggestion, some question. So your responses to your peers can be short, but they should be specific, offer a specific point of encouragement, a specific area that they could improve, and a specific question to help them improve. And then you are going to revise and self-assess based on that conversation, ideally by Monday. And that is Monday at midnight. I'm trying to give you some separation from your work so that you can get better at rewriting. As they say, all good writing is rewriting. I don't know who said that. Twain? Stephen King? I don't know. All right, another goal. I hope that we have some fun, or at least, I don't know. Yeah, that might be too much to ask, but I don't think so. Cool? All right. We're right on time here. And I've got about 5 minutes left of this lecture, and that is, I want to go over what argument is. For our purposes, we're going to say that argument has 2 parts. The first is that an argument has a claim, i.e. there is something that the arguer is trying to prove. So when I say argument, I don't mean like 2 people bickering back and forth with one another. I mean, it's a way of speaking where I make a claim and then I have some support for that claim. So claim, I am a great teacher. Support, because I wear button-down shirts. Horrible argument because the support doesn't match the claim. Claim, there's so many of them out there. Edmondson there's other words for the claim in different contexts. If I'm writing an essay, the claim is also called the thesis. We could also call the claim the main point. And in logic and critical thinking, it's called the conclusion. There's various words for support. These are often called somebody's reasons, some evidence that they use, and sometimes and oftentimes these are actually subclaims. So if I'm going to make a claim that I'm a good teacher, why? Because students give me high ratings. Well, I actually could say, well, just because students give you high ratings, does that mean you're a good teacher? Students give easy teachers high ratings, and easy teachers are not always good teachers. And I'd be like, oh, shoot. Good point. Maybe I need to rethink my support and evidence for that. Okay. Why is this interesting and relevant? One of the things we're going to be able to do in this class is get stronger at analyzing argument. Analysis actually here just means breaking something into its parts. Oh boy. And then putting it back together. There's really three ways we can examine an argument. We can basically examine the truth of the claim and the supports. So I can see whether or not it's true. I can look at the connection between the support and the claims. Does the support actually support the claim, or does it support something else? And we can analyze unstated assumptions. Claim, CSU is a great school. Support, we've got a great football team. How good is that argument? What's wrong with it?
You suck.
Okay, so you're saying that my support is false. So CSU doesn't have a good football team. What else is wrong with that claim? Or what else is wrong with the argument? If we have, go ahead.
It's subjective.
Yes. And you could also say there is an unstated assumption that if I have a good football team, that we have a good school. I can think of plenty of schools that don't have good football teams that are good schools. Harvard, Stanford. Actually, I don't know. I'm out of my depth here. Okay. Why is this significant? Argument is one of the biggest tools we have to be persuasive. And this is the entry of the biggest theme of the entire course, and that is of rhetoric. You notice our book is called Rhetorical Readings for Advanced Writers, and that is on the theory of rhetoric in the 20th century, some 21st century as well. Rhetoric is basically persuasive communication, and there's the early study of rhetoric was about ethos, logos, and pathos. Have we seen these words before? Do you remember what they are? I put it up here on the board in case he didn't. Ethos is about trustworthiness. It's the credibility, character, basically whether or not we trust someone. Logos is your logic, which traditionally argument gets put in there. And pathos is your passion, sense of emotion, your appeal to values or other motivations. Anybody know what language ethos, logos, pathos are in? Where this is from? It's Greek. Aristotle. 300 BC. He is really interested in how some speakers rose to prominence while others did not. And he thought that if someone that used good ethos, logos, and pathos would be able to persuade and convince people. Why should you care about any of this? Do you need to be persuasive if you're going to succeed in life? I agree. Can we think of a situation where it helps to be persuasive?
Job interviews.
Yes. And what's the argument you're making?
That you should hire me.
Why?
To convince them.
No, why should I hire you, Trevor?
Oh, because I'm a hard worker.
Ooh, I think that's a horrible reason. Just because everyone says that. I'm not going to put you on. You see what I'm saying? Hire me because I know how to communicate complex ideas to a variety of stakeholders in a variety of situations, and I'm an empathetic and clear listener who can follow instructions and adapt protocol to the needs of your growing client base.
That's what I meant by hard worker.
Boom, boom. That's what you need. Okay, there's other situations where this might be interesting. I don't know that you would really like make this into an argument. This might not be like the realm of logos. You might not want to be like, date me because, but maybe you do. Maybe be like, date me because I've got a nice face and I'm funny and I've got a lot of money. No, that's horrible. This is an interesting one to me. And in other social situations, we don't necessarily go up to someone and say, hey, I think you should go out with me because. We say, do you want to go out with me? And there's these other things that are there's arguments embedded in that it ends up starting to be really fascinating really quick. Like you could get an entire degree in communications where this is part of what we do when we communicate. How fast you speak is a model. So we associate that with intelligence. That was kind of one of the things. All right, all those things we talked about last time. Does this big picture make sense that one of the things that we're doing in this class is figuring out how to do this better? You get a good claim, you get good support. And in order to do that better, one of the main ways to do that is looking at how other people do it and have done it over time. Cool? Any questions or comments about this? All right, that's about as long of a lecture as I'll ever give you. It's too long. Okay, why is it too long, you could say? Unask that question. I don't feel like arguing. No. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms. And I'd like us to do 3 things with Edmundson. 1, what is his argument? Whoops, don't see that. What's his argument? Or you can't see my screen. 1, what is his argument? 2, is his argument any good? And 3, what are the discussion questions that you have around that? Awesome. This chat's been going off and I haven't seen it. So I'm gonna give you your instructions in the breakout rooms, and your goal is to first identify what his argument is, what is his claim, and what is his supports. Secondly, I'm actually just curious, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you evaluate his argument? 5 being amazing argument, super persuasive, 1 being horrible argument, not persuasive at all. How good was his argument? 3s, 3.5, good. In the middle, some 2s, I like it. There was some of his argument I thought was trash, and some of it I thought was compelling. I want to know what parts were good and what were not, and then a discussion question. We're not going to have time to finish this, and so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes in the rooms to answer those 3 questions. What was his argument? Why was it good or not? And what is a good discussion question for the rest of us? Here we go. Oops, here we go.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Ella.
An email about this, but I have class on campus that starts in like 20 minutes that I
Cool.
have to drive to, so I have to leave a little bit early during our Wednesday Zoom calls.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Safe travels. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yay, we made it back.
Yeah.
Were you guys all in the same group?
Yeah.
I think we're all in group 2.
Well, what did you think?
I thought he was kind of, a lot of it was like I said in the breakout room, it's like a slap to the face, but a kiss on the cheek towards teachers and students.
A slap to the face, but a kiss on the cheek to
It
who?
was also like to both. They're like, teachers do this, but teachers also are lazy. And then students are like, yeah, you don't know what you truly want to do, but like you guys also have to work hard.
Yeah, good. So what was his claim? Can we get what his argument was? We could also analyze and say how easy it was to find his argument. I don't think it was that easy to find his argument. He told a lot of stories. It was kind of like, wait, why are you telling this story? But maybe it was. What did we see that his claim was? That was a slap on the face, but a kiss on the cheek. That's hilarious.
We kind of talked about how it's like to get an education today, you have to like fight the institution. You have to like do it yourself. You're gonna piss some people off, but you're also gonna like further your education. It basically is just, it's all on you.
Okay, good. And then to be able to test whether or not that's the claim, you should be able to put a because statement after that, and then I know we have an argument. So claim, to get an education today, you have to fight for it. Why does he say that? Because why? Because,
One good example is like how here, let me remember this.
let's hear from another group too that got that. That was a great start for us. Let's hear someone else.
So our group talked a lot about like him being kind of forceful about, you know, the shadiness of institutions and
Awesome.
like telling us not to trust them because every institution that gives you information has a personal agenda and something that they ultimately want you to do for them. And just saying to not really trust anyone and like find your own sources and make your own opinions.
Good. So the institution is often against you as one of the reasons. There's 2 other big reasons that was against us. What do they say about teachers or professors?
That like they don't really care about you.
Yep.
They just care about the benefits that they reap later on.
Too busy researching and publishing. There's a term, there's publish or perish is what they say about professors. And I got to jump in here. I feel like I thought that was bullshit because I just thought that was insulting. He didn't address the differences between tenure track, whose job is only a quarter teaching and 50% research, and non-tenure track, that's me, whose job, literally like my job description is 90% teaching, 10% service. So he says that professors only care about doing research, but that's not even true. For half of the professors on campus, it's only their job to teach. So I don't know.
He also said that like all college students are only there to party,
Yes.
and then goes on to say like all college students are like hardworking. I thought that was kind of contradictory.
It was, and I thought it was kind of a fallacy of a hasty generalization. He says for college students, life is elsewhere. I'm like, I don't know. I've had some students that really care about what they're doing, and they found social groups around what they care about. Like, I don't know. But he does say that college students don't care, basically, which I also thought for the same reason is kind of insulting.
Yeah, like I wrote down a quote: "The students and professors have made a deal, needed
Yes.
them to throw themselves heart and soul into what happens in the classroom."
Yep.
So I think that kind of backs it up.
That is exactly, that's a great quote for both of those reasons that puts them together. Did anybody get critical about this first part of the clause? To get an so I think he did do a fairly good job supporting this idea of you have to fight and do it yourself. I don't know he did a good enough job supporting this first part to get an education today. What's the key term here that we need to define?
Education.
Yeah, I think he maybe even said to get a real education. Did we see how he defined what a real education is? If I was going to attack his argument, or maybe attack is too strong of a word. If I was going to critique his argument, this is where I would go. Who gets to, hey, excuse me, Mr. Edmundson, who decides what a real education is? Did we get what his definition of a real education was? He talks about soul making. I don't know. I don't know. Which I personally like, but I don't know. I'm not about to say that that's cool for other people. Did anybody get anything else here? We're pretty much at the end of our time anyway. Other claims you could get from this: students realize that college is what you make in it. Someone in a previous class said that they didn't think that this was targeted at students, that he was actually, it was an offhanded way to target people at a university to try to reevaluate how they're delivering education. So he's like trying to make change from the inside, even by addressing students. I thought that's kind of a sneaky way of reading this. And yeah. Okay, I think that's all we have time for. Do we basically see what I was doing to analyze his argument? What's the claim? What's the support? Does the claim and support connect? All of that. That make sense? Okay, well, I think that's a good backdrop to what we're doing next time, which is building on this. The only other reading for Friday is that you spend a little bit of time with the learning outcomes from the syllabus. So that language is written by the Colorado Department of Education to outline that this course is a guaranteed transfer for you for upper division writing credits. I find that language incredibly uninspiring and non-motivating. And so I'm hoping that you can find a way to make that language your own by connecting it to some other goals that you have that helps you kind of take ownership over this required class a little bit. Cool? All right, I am going to stop the screen share and close the session. If anybody wants to chat after class, I'll be here in the Zoom for another 10 minutes. Otherwise, peace. I'm going to end the recording. Have a great rest of your week. Look forward to seeing you Friday.